Hi, I'm Cynthia Marks. I head up the Holistic Psychoanalysis Foundation, established by my late husband, Dr. Bernard Bale. Today, we welcome Dr. Lauren Dolinsky back to talk with us. Lauren is a psychotherapist with a practice in Los Angeles. Lauren is an avid believer in Dr. Bale's work and uses his theories in her work with patients. She wholeheartedly believes in the importance of understanding our dreams. This holds true for her patients and the rest of us. As we know, many of us don't find ourselves in therapy for lots of different reasons. But here, we believe that we can inch our way toward better emotional health by paying attention to and learning to understand the incredible messages our dreams hold. Many, many of those messages point us in the direction of the feminine, that is to say, the feeling part of ourselves. It is so important to grasp what this is, what this really means when attempting to become whole. Today, we are going to focus on the feminine, and Dr. Dolinsky is an expert. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back.
Oh, it's so nice, and we look forward to more conversations in the future, of course. But this is a huge topic, and we've touched on it a little bit, Dr. Weiner and I, and we are looking forward to hearing more about this from you.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
Yes.
It's a huge topic, and it's so essential to this work, and it's so essential to our humanity. So I'm delighted to be here to talk about it.
Good, and most of us, I think, are excited to learn about it because I don't think we really understand what all it entails. Right. So before we really home in, what would you say kind of in broad strokes does this mean? What is the feminine?
Great question. So when we talk about the feminine, I want to be really clear that we're not talking about a gender idea. We're not talking about women. We're talking more about, the energetics of masculine and feminine, which every human on earth has both. So every human has a masculine side and a feminine side. And in this work, we talk a lot about the masculine as the intellectual side. That's the more analytical, intellectual side, whereas the feminine is feeling. That's the feeling side, that's the intuitive side, that's the receptive side of a person. And it's very essential to this work because as humans, this part of our nature has been through so much. And so to really start to heal and develop that part of the person is when you really see transformation in the person and when that person gets to really be themselves, like their truest, fullest, most complete self. So that's kind of a broad picture of the feminine.
I see. And so for all of us, what we want to do is have kind of a balance of both of those elements, the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah. I think in a perfect world, and I want to be very clear about this because we do not live in a perfect world, so I don't think that we have a lot of examples of where this really happens. But in a perfect world, first of all, our educational system is very focused on the intellect. Yes. So that part gets an education, that part gets to develop. We don't usually have a lot of setbacks there. I mean, people might individually, case by case, depending on an imprint, and
that's necessary, this sort of intellectual education, of course.
Absolutely. But I think as a whole, we haven't had much of an education system of sorts for the feminine, for the feeling part of a person. That side of a person, we're really allowed to mature and develop. What we want to see is that part of a person guiding the person. So actually the feeling part of a person is more in the driver's seat, and the intellect is involved, but it's following the feminine. So people, if you have a mature feminine, a mature feeling side, that really can guide you in a life. You can let that side guide you, and the intellect will be there to support it and follow.
So, as you say, in a perfect situation, the feeling side of us gets to mature and develop. And just share with us, I know we've kind of covered it with you, without you. How does that happen?
How does that side develop? Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's where we see a lot go wrong for most people, nearly universal. So I would say, again, in that perfect world, you have a parent, let's say the mother, father too, but really attuning and attending to that part of the child and nurturing the feeling part of the child and helping them understand what they're feeling and what it's about, and having a space for whatever feelings to come in and have a home in that person.
And those feelings of that child are all allowable.
All allowable, that's right. All welcome, and ideally understood. Help the child understand what they're feeling and maybe why. And then that child gets to develop that. And the mother, in a perfect world, has a developed feeling side that she uses to sense the child, to feel the child. So a lot of times what we see is, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but sometimes, people will talk about, well, my mom was emotional. Like, I know she was a feeling person. I saw her get emotional. But did she use her feelings to connect to you? Did she use her feelings to connect to her child and the feelings of that child? Did those feelings get to come in and take center stage? Because that often doesn't happen, as we might imagine it does. So when that doesn't happen, that's when the person gets very creative with all kinds of coping mechanisms and messages, and things happen that really quiet that side of a person, shut it down. That side gets very hurt and injured, maybe put to sleep, sometimes killed. Yeah, it's
how do I deal with these feelings? I have to make them go away, or I have to figure out how to take care of them because nobody else is helping me.
Yeah, like my message is, these are too much, like they're a burden to people. I shouldn't have them, let me get rid of them. And then we come up with all kinds of creative ways to do that. A very popular one might be substances, or, and you don't even need a substance. Sometimes people just numb, they don't feel.
So, but super important then that our mothers know how to feel themselves and how to use their feelings to connect rather than disconnect.
Right.
Do our children's feelings sometimes stimulate a need in us to unconsciously retract, or?
Yes. Yes, especially depending on what that mother went through with her emotional life and her feminine side in her family of origin. So how were her feelings attended to or not attended to in the family? And what ends up happening is you get a lot of reenactments, and we see it everywhere, of this messaging of, knock it off, get over it,
Stop
too
crying.
much, be quiet, stop your crying. There's so many versions of, can you just get over it, be quiet, and knock it off. Get out of here with your feelings.
So in a world where we're all understanding each other and your child is crying and you feel for your child and you love that child and you want to help them through it, you can't say stop crying.
Right.
You have to figure out a way to not direct them, but let them know that their feelings are okay. And in that process, do they come to terms with it and the feeling turns into something positive rather than negative or scary?
Well, maybe. I mean, we have to see how it goes and how the conversation goes or the soothing goes. But if the message is, it's safe for me to bring my feelings to you and you'll take care of them and it's okay, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. That's very different than what we actually typically see.
Because most of us don't know how to say, as kids, I'm afraid, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. Because you don't want her to then have to be burdened with your discomfort. Or
Right.
your father, of course.
Right, and it's so much more nuanced and complex than that too, because a lot of times there's already messages that we've gotten from the dynamics of the family and from the unconscious of the parents about whether feelings are welcome or not welcome, allowed or not allowed, how they're going to be received. So even in like a case where you have very nice parents, these are not, abusive, mean-spirited parents, sometimes already though the child feels there's a preoccupation with mom. She's busy. She's got her own anxiety. She's got her own things going on. You know, dad too. So what about me? Where do I go? Right? That's very common. That's very common. So we just have a million scenarios where this feminine side of a person really just gets shut up.
And then the masculine side, or the intellect, comes in to sort of protect us.
Yeah, that's a lot of what happens. So a lot of people get the message. You know, the other side of it too is that people are very scared of this feeling side. They equate it because of what goes on early on, because of what Dr. Bale discovered of what happens in the womb. And there's so much pain in there, and so much scary, painful stuff. All feeling is associated with scary, painful, you know, it's all shut down. So as the intellect develops, that feels safer for a person. It's okay to go there. We'll just go there. And you see it everywhere, and people try to solve the world's problems with the intellectual side only. When you only have that side, it's very limited. There's not a lot, and especially if it's an emotional issue, if it's a feeling issue, the intellect isn't going to get very far with it, right?
Well, and there's so many examples of us trying to soothe ourselves with our intellect because we don't have the capacity to do that with our feelings, or understand our feelings or the feelings of others.
That's right.
Like, if I just buy this pretty thing, I'll feel better.
Sure.
And then you don't, and then you buy another pretty thing, or a bigger pretty thing.
Right. Yeah, that's usually not going to do it.
So I think so many of us aren't even aware of this thing, that we're not operating from a place of feeling.
Right.
How do we get ourselves there? I mean, we can't all be in therapy, like I said, for one reason or another. We don't believe in it, we can't afford it, we don't have access to it. Yeah. But yet we all are going to, I promise, benefit from feeling our feelings.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, look, I mean, my bias is with the work that we do here and getting people connected to their dream. You know, what Dr. Bale discovered is when you start to bring in the dreams, then you're really working in the emotional arena. Then you're in the feminine arena, because that's, you'll see the feeling-based story in the dreams, and you start to get a picture of what a person's life has felt like to them from the beginning. So for the layperson, absolutely start trying to connect to that part of yourself more. Just notice what you're feeling at any moment, what stirs up what kinds of feelings. You know, start getting curious about your own dreams and look for the emotional story in it.
And
right?
How will you know that? How would you know that you've gotten to the place where you've taken a turn and you think, I connect with that?
Well, usually you feel it. Right. Usually there's a feeling, but you know, it's hard. Again, I'm coming from the lens of doing this work.
Yes.
So that's where I see it, and I'm fortunate that I get to help people with that in this way, so we can have lots of examples of what, you know, how the feminine might appear in a dream, of what happened there.
And obviously what you know is just reinforced again and again, because you see people, hear people, feel people feeling a feeling.
That's right.
And even though I didn't have a therapeutic relationship with my husband, when we, ultimately talked about enough of my dreams, and we shared ours back and forth, and that first time where I felt it, I mean, it was absolutely 112% clear that it was a feeling, and just that little bit changed the course. It set me down this path of saying, okay, that's what a feeling feels like.
That's right.
And what a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's really something to it there. There's something to it.
Since it is incredibly common for this part of us to be shut down and becoming, I'd say, unfortunately, more and more so. I know we're talking about what can lay people do, but how do we pick up the pace? How do we help men and women know that the feminine is of ultra importance?
Well, I think conversations like this hopefully will help. We have to start talking about this part of a person more. I mean, I think collectively, and the good news is I am starting to see it in different circles. There is more talk of the feminine happening in a lot of different arenas, not just here with us. It's on people's minds. It's on people's minds. So we need people to know that this part is so essential to start to develop and nurture and let in, and that it's safe to let it in and safe to start feeling, and including all the big scary things that come with it. And it's not easy. It's not easy because you're asking people to feel a lot of what they've been avoiding their whole lives.
Well, and I think there's there has been a lot of negativity in a way associated with our feelings. If you share your feelings, you're weak.
Sure.
You have to come from a place of strength. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman.
Oh yeah, and men especially. Men especially get a lot of man up messaging.
Yes.
Right, and the reality is a man who has a developed feminine side actually is a lot stronger in his masculinity too. That does not make one effeminate. That's a lie.
Yeah.
You'll have actually a stronger person, all around, a more, just a whole being, right? And that's for both men and women. So we really just have all had the message to get rid of this part of ourselves.
Yes, and for women, it's sort of, you've got those feelings, but just suck it up and put them aside, so much
Right,
so that
and
they
you're
don't
being
even exist.
Hysterical,
Yeah.
there were so many in the past, women were really pathologized for having, being histrionic.
Right.
Or whatever. Feelings
Right.
were just so misunderstood.
Yeah, you can't hold a job because
Right. God forbid you get emotional.
Yeah.
We have just really devalued this part of a person.
Mm-hmm. Do you think too that if we were to turn this into a welcome positive, that stereotypical scenario where a woman, you just automatically think you're going to put her in this position where she's in charge, let's say, but how long is that going to last before she sort of falls apart or falls into histrionics? Would we lose that kind of stereotype? Because it's not accurate.
Well, it's not accurate, but I think maybe we would just start welcoming if there, let's say anybody falls apart or has an emotional experience, what's going on for the person? We don't have to make that a bad thing. Let's start to understand what people are feeling. How come?
Yeah. And
why
are they feeling all these feelings?
Yeah.
And take the sort of badness out of that.
That's right. That's right. Look, the problem is when this part of a person is not allowed to develop, we have really injured, underdeveloped, immature feminine sides running amok. When you have like the injured baby feelings everywhere, then no wonder people are like, ugh, who wants feelings running the show? That's
not working.
Yeah, well, that's because you don't have a mature, developed emotional side here. We don't have a mature feminine. We've got a very hurt baby. And probably the reality is a lot of the parents,
yes,
too, right? Underdeveloped parts of the parents. We don't even really have the person. So, that doesn't look good. That's not a healthy picture. So I understand why people are scared of that.
In a perfect existence, there isn't one, but let's say close to, would we all be born into this world with the beautiful ability to feel our feelings and understand those of others? Is it this trauma that we've had put on us, or that we've taken on, the thing that's really stamping out the feelings?
I mean, yes, to put it simply, yes. We've all got these imprints that have really done a number on everybody's feeling side, sometimes the intellectual side too, but definitely the feeling side of people. And when that has been so shut down, put to sleep, injured, killed, annihilated, it is very hard to connect to another person really from a feeling place. And so compassion, empathy in a real way, like true compassion, true empathy, not just intellectual empathy, because, you know, I think, sure, that's a good place to start. I think a lot of people try to connect to another person because they'll think through, okay, I see, you know, it makes sense in my mind why you feel that way. It's a very different thing when you get the feeling part involved and you can really feel another person. You know, that's different. That's different. So when we allow that part of a person to grow and mature, you get a much more compassionate person, and love flows. It can just flow.
Well, is it helpful, to your point, to practice, let's say, empathy on an intellectual level? Just let me try this on and see.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, we definitely want to try and connect to others, but, you know, I think the reason this work is so valuable is when people are in this kind of therapy, you can't help but start to get a picture of what happened to your own feeling side, so that you can start to rehabilitate that part of yourself and actually truly start to connect to not only yourself but other people from a feeling place. You know, that's a different way of doing it. Yes, you know, put your mind on it, intellectually think about it, not a bad idea. You're going to have a better result if you get your feelings involved.
But maybe that is a good place to practice if we don't have access to
Sure.
fabulous people like you.
Well, we should always do our best to try and understand one another. I mean, we have a big problem with that out in the world, right?
We do.
So the more we can cultivate understanding, the better. Of course, that's a good idea. It's just, you know, I would say the next step in our evolution is to get the feelings involved in the process and given an opportunity to really grow up and develop.
And if we're coming from that place of feeling, which I would think would also cultivate love for one another, we can't possibly be as divided as we are now.
Yeah, I that'll probably take a long
I
time
was
given
gonna
the
say,
climate.
about
But
500
that's
years.
right. Yeah. Look, that's right. I think that's real evolution. I think that's true human evolution. That's what we were designed to do, right? Become more loving. You know. So this way, like who would have thought that inviting your dreams in and getting a good understanding of what you've been dreaming about your own life from the beginning of your life would actually help grow this part of you and help your own evolution and frankly help humanity. You know, so it's I think, like I said last time, it's a really elegant system.
It is, and those dreams are just giving us keys to our unconscious where all of this information is stored and is accessible.
Yeah, we just get a really good picture that way. We can do it without a dream. We can do an effective therapy and we can get at the unconscious without a dream. It's just slower and it's harder. It's doable. It's absolutely doable. And when people come to me and they don't dream, that's no problem. First of all, they're going to start dreaming.
Everybody dreams.
Everybody dreams. Everybody dreams. They'll start. But, you know, and it might take a long time. That's fine. There's plenty to talk about. The unconscious is everywhere. We can see it everywhere. We can access it everywhere. It's just when you get a dream, you're like, okay, there it is, right? You just get a clear pathway to what's happening. And you really can start to get that emotional picture, right? So if you'd like, I can share one of those dreams. I have a few dreams in mind, but there was one I was thinking about from a patient where we get a good illustration. This was after a significant period of therapy, probably at least a few years. But this dream really shows, I wanted to choose it because there's a universal quality to it.
Oh, good.
So this patient had a dream where they were coming in on a flight, like the flight was landing and the lights were out on the left side of the plane. And they were landing into a really chaotic scene. And there was more that happened it was personal to the patient, but they had to take a hard right turn when they got off the plane and into the chaos. It was kind of like a war zone. But this dream, so in working through this dream and talking about it and hearing their associations and in the understanding of what we know from this work, this patient was dreaming already of what it felt like to be in the mother. And this was the birth, right? And so that baby already got the message that the lights are out. So the left side is the feeling side, left is the feminine. So the lights were all out on the left side of the plane, right? And then had to take a hard right turn into this chaos. That's the masculine, right? The intellect. And that's very true for this person, right?
And the only way to really survive.
It was survival. Yeah, I mean, that's what Dr. Bale understood, is that it's all about survival, right? So this is such a good dream because it's very common. It's obvious, it was personal to this patient, but it really illustrates, I think, what so many of us go through coming into this life and don't even know it. It's all unconscious, but we already have the message that lights are out on feeling, I better go to intellect, right?
And so what happened with this patient?
So they took that in, she took the dream in, she continued this therapy for a long time, and we started to see changes. You have to know what you're working with first. So first we need a picture of the reality. That's what the dreams are going to do, in the beginning, for a long time. I mean, throughout a treatment.
You and the patient have to know.
We have to know. We have to help the patient get a working understanding of what their life felt like to them from the beginning. And so, good for her, she has this dream where she's very honest and says, oh my God, before I was even born, as I was being born, I knew that the feeling side was shut down. So that's huge. That's huge. What a dream, right? But then you can get to work, once you know that, okay, it would start to wake that side up, start to invite it in. And over the years, there were many dreams that show a revitalization of that side. Right, so this can change. That's the amazing news, right? That the wonderful news, and it's hard won. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, let me just turn the lights were out. Let me turn them on. No problem, right? That's hard because that's very scary. That's very scary. If you've gone a lifetime where feelings have been shut down, hurt, whatever the story is, and that is so common. That is so common. Then going and doing something different and starting to let them in is
scary.
It's scary. It's hard work.
It's an unknown. Even though you might understand that it is the best path for you, sure, it's still unknown. And even though you know that your known is not good for you,
right,
it's what you know.
It's what you know. It's what you know, and it's what you have associated with love from the family, right? That it's your parents, it's everything, right? So venturing in to that new territory is a really big deal.
So many of us have dreams that sort of represent that, where in our own format, our own symbols, showing that you started out with this deficit,
right?
And
with
you figure it out.
Situation. Yeah, I mean, I have so many dreams that I listen to, and it's always interesting to hear the themes. I had permission to share that one dream, but just thematically, we see lots of cold scenarios, snow, zombies, alien, let's think about, oh my God, I have a zombie apocalypse in my dream. What do we think that means? What did that feel like to you if the people around you are the Walking Dead? Yeah. right? Let's start to think about that.
Well, and you mentioned too that boredom is that there's no feeling really to
There's
boredom.
no feeling. There's no feeling. So we have to see if someone is feeling bored or disconnected from their life. Is it that they have their feeling side shut down?
And is that a coping mechanism in a way? Like if I just
Sure.
do nothing, if I'm interested in nothing, nothing can spring up that I don't understand or don't want to know about.
Sure. Look, we have to look case by case of what any individual is doing.
Well,
right?
and like you said, some of us would choose substances.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many ways. Humans are so creative, right? There's so many creative ways to get away from feeling.
And if we're stuffing our feelings down or not even knowing how to feel them, we're potentially doing physical harm to ourselves as
It
well.
can come out in illnesses, or it'll just come out sideways in relationships, or I mean, all kinds of things. Yeah, they don't actually go away. I mean, that's the wish, the fantasy is if I just don't deal with them, don't feel them, stuff them away, whatever, then
That they disappear.
out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, not true. There's still that you still have an unconscious. It's just probably making your life harder in a number of ways.
And the feelings then is it as if they're always trying to come out in some way?
I think so. I think so. I mean, this side of a person wants to be known. That's why you're going to be dreaming what you're dreaming, because your dream is saying, hey, self, it's the deepest, truest part of you, really just trying to get your attention and saying, hey, here's what's on our mind right now. Here's what we're thinking about, what we're feeling, what we're dealing with. And if it's, scary stuff, if we've got, murders and post-apocalyptic scenes and nightmares, there's something your mind wants to start working on.
But I can also understand why I'd want that to go away.
Yeah, and people will, sometimes spend a lifetime running from it.
Yeah.
No one has to go there.
No.
It's just usually better for you if you do.
And most of us don't. And I wonder what happened to us where we got to the place where dreams are just typically meaningless. I mean, most of us wake up in the morning and go, well, that was dumb, or what was that, or I don't ever dream, and why would I? Who cares? I mean, when we know, you and I, that it is this valuable gift, that it's part of who we are, day in, day out, where did we begin to dismiss it?
Oh, probably back in the beginning. Over eons. But look, it's because look at what you'd have to face. If that had meaning, then your worst nightmares are significant. Then what?
Yeah. Now you've got a deal.
Yeah, now you've got to face a big nightmare, and most people don't want to start to do that and make those connections of how that fits with their own life. So a lot, it's hard. A lot of people don't know how to make that connection, because if we take just a generic situation, I'm not talking about families where there's outright abuse and things like that, where it's easier to see, okay, there's real trauma here and it's undeniable. But a lot of people, it's easy to deny if they've had, nice enough parents and they think, I had an unremarkable childhood. So if I have nightmares, that has nothing to do with my life.
Sure. Right? It's hard to make the connection.
It's hard to make the connection.
That makes
and
sense.
There's a pressure on most people to think that they had a perfectly good life. What do you mean? What do you mean this nightmare has to do with me and my life?
Well, we've all been busy from the beginning protecting what it is we have, good or bad or indifferent. And I think so much so, I mean, our imprint is to just keep that space safe enough where we can survive,
right,
and protect our parents so they don't harm us in the best way possible. To break through that is so hard.
It's huge. It's very hard. Yeah, it's not easy. It asks a lot of people. It asks a lot. Is it worth it? I think so. I think so. To be able to actually have your feminine side online is huge, huge. You become a different person. First of all, you become more yourself.
Yes.
You become more yourself. Your life will start feeling better to you. You'll have more space. We've cleared out enough trash from that part of the mind that things start flowing a little better. But doing it this way, it's not easy. It's not easy. There's not a quick fix. I wish there was a way to go, here's how you heal your feminine side, right? 10 steps to heal the feminine.
Right.
You know, we just don't have that right now. You know, thank God we have this. It's actual work.
Yes.
It's actual work. But you know, that same patient, for instance, years later, a lot of work later, had a dream where there was a plane, flight 55, being piloted by 2 women. So it was very emotional.
Because there's feeling.
Well, it's so beautiful, you know. That's such a, it might sound crazy to people because of why I'm getting emotional about that, but to go from a shut down, just no feeling, no feminine at all, to now there's like a conversation with these 2 women. We're happy about the pilots there, and the 5-5, by the way, is big change. 5 is change. So there had been a big change.
That's just such a beautiful thing to hear about, and for you to be part of, and for your patient to grow from. Right. Unbelievable. Yeah. And so is that individual really living a different life now?
From where she started, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Are her relationships with other people different?
I think she would say yes.
Uh-huh.
I think she would say yes. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
So, I mean, I just use that to show what's possible.
Yeah, that's an amazing amount of growth.
It's a big amount of growth. Yeah, and you know, I'm biased. I just don't see that happening in other modalities, right? Because of this piece of bringing the feminine in that I don't see in a lot of other modalities. Even, look, there's a lot of therapies that talk about feelings and working with feelings, and maybe we talk about feeling it in the body, or a lot of ways of talking about feelings, but it's a different thing than getting them understood, put in their right context, and really allowed to develop in the way that this work allows. And I'm not saying no change happens in these other modalities. That's, sure. You know, this just happens to be my area of expertise. Right. But we get to see some real transformation, because in the therapies that are a little more intellectual leaning, you know, and I think Dr. Bale talked about this a lot too, you can gain a lot of wisdom. You have an intellectual treatment, you're going to maybe learn a lot about a lot of things, maybe your own life and the way the world works, but it's all intellect.
Is it more of a learning how to cope?
That can be, you know, you can use tools, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When this thing happens that triggers this, I know that if I go do this, that will go away.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of focus right now on affect regulation, emotional regulation, you know, nervous system regulation. That's a big thing. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we're not understanding what's really happening. What are we really upset about? If there's so much emotional dysregulation, what's underneath it? Right? Someone can have all the tools in the world to keep themselves very regulated, but they won't know why they are the way that they are. What are they actually so upset about? You know, let's start to nurture that side and allow it to really develop instead of just trying to manage it, you know?
And I appreciate that, you know, we have a lot of pharmaceutical ways that we can make ourselves feel better,
yeah.
Help us with our depression.
Yes.
And fortunately, we have those things available to us.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing ourselves more of a service by addressing that thing that we're trying to manage with medication in addition to, like, continue to...
Yeah, look, I think in a perfect world, maybe we'd go for a deeper understanding, and the meds, if they're needed, if someone is in so much pain all the time that it's like, look, you want me to come in and talk about my dreams, but I can barely function in my life. You know, sometimes we do need a helping hand, a crutch, just to get a little more stable, to start to be able to talk, right? And just to have the space to really start to dig in there. But I think digging in there is important. You know, the meds will serve in that same way as, like, let's just keep, you know, really a lot of the messaging that comes with that is just shh, say, quiet the feeling, just settle you down.
The same thing that you've been told all your life.
Right. It will just keep that going. You know, so you're not going to see that the transformation I just talked about that gets me so emotional. Yeah, you're just not going to see that kind of transformation with a medication. You know, it might the person feel a little better in their life, and maybe that's enough for them, and they go, I just want to get through my days, and that's fine. Right? But if someone wants the deeper change, we have to get the feeling part of the person involved, because there's no transformation unless it touches the heart. Right? It has to touch the heart.
And there's no evolution to this without touching the heart.
Right. Yeah, again, a person can get wiser, they can get smarter, you know, and that's not a bad thing. And maybe that's all someone wanted. It depends what the person's soul wants. Yes. You know, how far does someone want to go? Not everybody has to go all the way in and change the whole flight around and get on this new plane. You know, that might not be everybody's path. And that's okay. We're just showing what's possible. You know, that can happen. And that's huge. That's huge. That's a big change. The flight 55 wasn't lying. That's a lot of change.
That's a lot of change. And just to think that something like that is possible.
Right.
Is just an eye-opener. You know, that you can do something to make your feeling life better.
That's right. Yeah, that's the message too, is like, if you're feeling so badly, most people come to therapy because something's not going well.
Yes.
You know, there's something that doesn't feel good in their life.
Either knowingly or unknowingly. You might just feel bad and you don't know why.
Or you feel lost, something, right? Something's not going the way you want it to, right? So yeah, you get to see, like, this is changeable. In a big way. How much you want to change it is up to you, and how much you dig into this, and how open, you know, it has to really resonate for a person. And it's a road to get there. It's not a straight line. As we know, there's a big process involved of actually doing it, but it's possible. You know, and I think people need that understanding that it's possible.
It is, and it's not just sort of this airy-fairy wish. I mean, it's a
That's right.
reality.
This is the reality. Yeah, and it's not just like, you know, I feel more regulated in my life. I'm doing, you know, and again, all of that is fine. That level of change is just fine if that's what a person wants. But I think the beauty of this work is that such deep transformation is possible. And a lot of people don't know that. You know, or they try all these different ways, and they have more success some places than others, right? But, you know, it does work. It does work.
And I think one of the easiest things to see when you are going down this path is the way your connections to other people change in just the most loveliest of ways.
I think so.
And I mean, you can look back, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, these were the types of relationships I had.
That's right.
And now I have these relationships, and they're like this, they're not like this.
That's right.
And it's clear.
That's right.
And it's precious.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not just like, oh, my dreams are so different. Your life is different.
Yeah.
Your life is different. Your relationships are different. Yeah, absolutely.
And as people are going through this and they have these dreams, so your patient had this first dream of the left side of the plane with the lights out, their dreams begin to change. You gave us the beginning and the end.
Yeah, there's so much in between.
And
right?
does that
so
person see that? Like, oh my gosh, I'm not dreaming so much about that chaos on the right side. It's a smaller chaos, or there's not a chaos, or maybe it's just dark outside.
Well, and just to be clear too, that might, depending on what's happening in a person's life, they might revisit that original chaos at various points based on what's happening. So it's not like that magically just goes away forever. There's a different relationship to it. And there's awareness of, okay, I know what's happening here. I see, we're back here now. And the person will know, they just see things a lot more clearly. There's a real clarity that happens once you understand the way this all works. So it's not just, oh, magically, that's all gone. There's no problems, and now I've got the women flying, and it's great.
There's some back and forth along the way.
There's a lot of back and forth, and yeah, we get smaller dreams in between showing a strengthening. Like this person had a dream where they were exercising the left leg. They were very, very dedicated to strengthening the left side, and it was very literal in this dream of strengthening the left leg. And there was family members trying to interfere, and they were like, no, I got to do this. Yeah.
Wow.
So there was a real dedication to it.
In that process too, and I think this is really difficult to discern, is there some amount of backtracking because I know Bernard used to call it the internal saboteur, where you're trying to get back to your status quo even though it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But you're saying to yourself, you don't need to go down this path. Remember what it's like. You want to make sure you keep all those balls in the air. Sure. Don't drop one. You're dropping one. Yeah. And then you have to almost battle yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not really yourself. It is, but it's not even your truest self is yourself.
Yes.
You're battling this internal saboteur
and your imprint.
And your imprint, right? Which isn't even really you. That's a lie. You've taken that in as you, and it's not.
So much to know about what is you and what isn't.
That's right. Right.
But I think you is the part that's feeling.
Well,
your
yeah,
true
and
self.
we want to be careful about that too, because sometimes a person's emotional life, they won't even know that it's actually not theirs. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're plugged into the emotional reality of a parent, and we have a lot of peeling off of that before we actually get to them and their real feminine side.
And so, for example, what would we be doing in support of the emotional of one of our parents?
Well, it's different than, I'm just going to take care of this parent. Sometimes we actually become that parent in a lot of ways. So you'll see parallel, whatever that parent was struggling with, you might just see a lot of parallels. Like, for some reason, I keep running into these issues. This is my emotional experience. I'm frustrated. I'm very irritable all the time. My mother was very irritable all the time. You just get little clues that I wonder if it's really even the person. If we have, someone with anxiety, depression, whatever the presenting issue is, we start to really peel back a lot of layers and start to wonder whose anxiety is it, whose depression is it. Sometimes it's not even them. They think I'm just this way and I'm just really irritable all the time. They don't know they're living as their mother or as their father.
That's so hard to grasp. So hard to grasp.
You start to see it that's where the dreams get really helpful, because then you're like, you might have a dream where you're driving one of their cars or you're in their clothes. Or I heard a dream recently where somebody had mom's really old flip phone in their pocket and they didn't realize it. And you go, oh, so you didn't, that's such a big deal. You didn't realize you have mom's old flip phone in your pocket. So we have to start to think about what that means for the person, right? We've got an outdated technology that belonged to the mother that you didn't know you were using, right? So really, you're not yourself. So, with each of those dreams and each of those interpretations, you peel back a layer. You peel back a layer, and you're just making space for that person's feeling side to start to grow, to start to show itself, in time.
Well, even I, just this very last night, I'm embarrassed to say, I shouldn't be, that I had a dream I was in my parents' car. I was a teenager. I was in the back seat. My father was driving, my mother was silent, my teacher was on the phone, and I thought, for me that was like a little bit frustrating, because I thought, why am I still...
Yeah, that's right.
But it's one of those internal saboteur things.
Well, I don't know. We'd have to look at what's going on. We go, okay, what's going on in your life that you went back there, right? There's a reason, right? So it's always better to know. I don't think it's anything you need to, get embarrassed about. It's like, oh, thank you for showing me. Mm-hmm. Right? Thank goodness I got the message. Now I can start to think about that and go, wait a minute.
Why am I going there?
Where's Dad driving?
Yeah.
If that's who was driving in the car. So where's Dad driving in my life right now? Right?
But so
where's
fascinating.
My internal mom being quiet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, when I woke up this morning and I remembered that dream so clearly, I wasn't bothered by it. Mm-hmm. I was intrigued by it.
Yeah. I think, that's a good... Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people can feel whatever way they want about their dream. Yeah. But, if you can have some curiosity and some interest, and then go, how about that? Mm-hmm. Okay, here I am, however old I was in the dream, and here's the setup. So now I get to look at how come that right now.
Yeah. And I have you to talk to about this, but just even on my own, I can begin to ask questions about the different elements and what in that dream made me feel something, or what else in that dream made me feel something else. Right. And like you say, why now? What about my life? What about the world?
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because we do dream about things.
We dream for
globally.
People, for all of us. Yeah, look, I mean, people will dream for themselves, and they'll bring their personal material in, and that's so helpful in the treatment. It's so necessary, and they'll dream for everybody. So that's why I wanted to talk about that plain dream, because I think that's a collective dream. It's her dream, but it's so universal.
So then, given that, where in the end she's with the two female pilots, does that speak to us trying to get there as a humanity?
Well, again, it shows what's possible. It's her dream, so that's her hard-won work, and she gets to go through life with a more integrated and mature feminine self. So that's a big deal. And we are all so connected. So if someone can do that, it has ripple effects, and others feel it. And others will send, other people in her life will go, oh my God, that's possible. Right? So we have an effect on one another. That's why, that's Dr. Bale brings this back all the time to the mother and the baby, because enormous impact. The more moms start to understand this, and we want to be clear, because I'm saying a lot of things that go wrong between a mother and the baby, and that feeling when, the feeling parts go sideways. It's better we know it's not about bashing the mom at all, because that mother went through what she went through in her early life, and so on, and generationally, right? We just now get to be honest about it and look, and when people talk about generational trauma and epigenetics and all these things, we get to see how that works. And the more we can actually empower mothers with this knowledge, right? And with this work, and with an opening to their feminine side, their feeling side, then it starts to change for the baby. It starts to change for everybody, right? So it's such a big deal. That's profound. It's not just like good for, any individual patient. I mean, yes, that's great. We're all connected.
And I think it's okay for us to know that we affect each other. I think oftentimes...
We better know that, yeah.
But I think oftentimes we don't feel like we're entitled to affect someone else, or that we just are so insignificant that we can't affect anyone else. But no matter what, we're affecting people.
Of course.
no matter our stance, right?
We always are. Yeah, that's why I was just thinking about on the drive over here that, and I might get the exact wording of the quote wrong, but there's that very famous Dr. Maya Angelou quote where she says something to the effect of, you know, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Yes. That is, I mean, we can all point to 75 different examples of that in our lives.
Yeah, we have an impact. People will remember the feeling.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe just enough to have been made uncomfortable or curious or happy, and then we sort of move on. But if we were more in touch with our feminine side, we would be like drinking that in.
I think so. Well, yeah, and we could talk about these things more. There's just more space for that side.
You did tell me about a dream that a patient of yours had where there was a scary spider, or they were a scary spider.
Oh.
And they were being hurt by family members.
Right. So this was actually this same patient with the plane
I
dream.
see. Was this in between those two?
This was in between those dreams. There was something with a big scary spider, and some family members were like beating it with a bat, and then it transforms into a little girl. And the little girl basically tells the patient, like, you should have let me in, I would have helped. So that's another one of these dreams where we see what's happened to feelings, right? They get so beat. You know, I feel what we all go through.
I mean, that's so much pain. That's just clearly...
That's right. People are so scared. That the reason I like this dream too is it shows that the feminine side was telling the person, if you let me in, I would have helped you.
So this spider that transformed into a girl, and the girl represents the feminine.
Yes.
Did
and
that...
the spider does too. So that's really important, because you'll see in dreams, people will turn feeling into something terrifying, scary, like an alien invasion.
The zombies and...
The zombies might be the feeling-less people.
I see, yes.
I mean, we have to see which way it goes, but sometimes there's, attacks coming from whatever side when it's feeling. So feelings get turned into something very scary. So this was such an interesting dream. And again, I think one of these universal dreams, because this is how the feminine has been treated, right? It's been turned into this scary monster that we're supposed to just beat away and beat up and get out of here, when the truth is we should be inviting it in. It will help. It's there to help. So yeah, that is one of those dreams for everybody. Your feelings are there to help you.
And it's a good feeling to know that facing those things, facing that scary spider or the monsters running after you, ends up creating a better existence for you. That if you can face these things, which aren't reality, but...
Well, there is a reality. There is a reality that the feelings are there, and they have been terrifying to let in. So it is scary. You know, it will feel... There's a reason. I mean, any horror movie that you can imagine, all the horror movies that exist in the world, guess where they come from? They come from the human unconscious. They come from our imprints. They come from what it felt like to be in a womb.
And we come up with some very, very scary things.
The scariest stuff. I'm not personally a horror movie person.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. But, that's where it comes from. So this is what we're asking people to face and feel. So this is why we go, no, thank you. I'm going to beat you. You're too scary. Get out of here, you big scary feeling. Beat you away with a stick.
I see.
Right? But again, it shows what's possible in a treatment. It will transform and help you. If you let it in, it's there to help. It's there to help. Feelings are always there to help. When you connect a feeling, you have a better sense of how to guide your life. You will know, hey, this relationship, it doesn't feel good to me. It might be familiar. This might actually be the pattern I've been in forever in a relationship, but guess what? It doesn't feel good. And I know that, so I can choose something else.
What a gift.
What a gift. And so many people get stuck in that, and they might know it doesn't necessarily mean they're numb and they don't know that it doesn't feel good.
But they go with it anyway.
They go with it. It's familiar.
Yes.
They're essentially choosing the family. They're
Yeah.
choosing the imprint. This was love. This is love.
Yeah. And this is what my family would want for me.
Yeah, any of these things, right? But when we really get to let the feelings guide, when we have the women piloting the plane, we get to start to listen to those things and nurture the things that feel good. And more of that will start to come in because there's more space for it now. So you see, because the unconscious, it's kind of like a radio signal that creates situations in it's magnetizing people and whatever into your life. Things will start to feel different, and you'll get different experiences when you let feeling in and allow a healing of that feminine side. And really a resurrection, because for so many of us, put to sleep or killed.
Yeah, a resurrection.
And really killed. I don't use the term killed lightly.
Yeah.
There's a brutality. We see it in that dream. I mean, beaten.
Yes.
And that's not even, this isn't, as far as dreams go, it's not the most violent dream we can imagine. But still, look at what we're dealing with.
Yeah, brutal.
And then we have, many more violent dreams, and we go, okay, this is what we've endured and have tried to not feel.
Right, and we think we're better off by continuing to not feel, because the only thing we
who
can
wants to feel that, right? Who
right,
wants
it's
to
only
feel it?
bad. You're only going to hurt.
It's only going to hurt, right? And we know that the reality is, you keep those feelings away, you keep all the feelings away. You can't be selective with it. You know what? I'm going to keep the scary, painful feelings away, but only the good stuff gets to come in. That's not reality. It's not going to work. That's not a real. It's not real.
Yeah,
it's not grounded in reality.
That scenario can't exist.
Yeah, we need. Look, we're humans who I think came here for a more full spectrum experience.
We have a little ways to go.
Yeah, we do.
And again, I really feel like this place of coming from feelings allows you to even attract different people that also operate from feelings, or maybe you uncover the feeling part in someone else a little bit because you're sort of transmitting this.
Yeah, people will generally sense a safety in somebody that has a more developed feminine side. They just know, and they might not put their finger on it in that way and go, oh, this person has got this lovely feminine part of their nature. They will just feel a certain openness and a safety and a warmth. All of those lovely qualities, those typically belong to the feminine. Again, the masculine, and I'm not putting that side down at all. It's so important. We also need a developed masculine side. That's how we go out into the world and accomplish these things and have these, technological advancements. It's a wonderful side. It's not going to...
On its own, it doesn't really need to be too addressed.
Yeah, and sometimes, an imprint can sometimes touch the intellect and put limits on how smart a person is supposed to be and whether they have struggles intellectually in different ways. So it's not that it's not part of the picture. It's part of the picture. It's part of the whole. We want both of these sides developed. The reason we're focusing so much on the feminine is, as we see in the dreams and as we see all around us in humanity, this side is not in good shape collectively. It's not in good shape. So that's where so much healing and attention is needed.
And we're in a little bit of an emergency situation.
We're in an emergency situation, right? So it's a good time to start listening and inviting this side in and really listening and really understanding. And intellect's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to make a person stupid to start to to have more feelings? You know, that might be a worry for people.
I bet it is. It's, we all think that if we put more in this cup, that means we've taken from that cup. So
yeah, no, not how it works. You can still be a very smart person. In fact, you will be smarter. People with a more developed feminine side, actually, the intellect can't help but grow from that too. Right? They work together. It's supposed to be harmonious. It's supposed to be the feelings guiding a person and the intellect following. You know, that, again, beautiful system. And for all humans, any gender, not just women, I'm saying feminine, but all genders, all people, right? So.
Well, you are amazingly wonderful, and you make me be even more curious than I've ever been. And I can't figure out, you're just so wise and so full of feeling. And
definitely full. Thank you for having me on to cry again on your podcast.
Oh, but you're just, your whole being is lovely, and you're just, you offer so much more than what is represented by your years on earth. So you make me completely believe in a bigger, more beautiful picture than my little surroundings.
Well, that's so kind of you.
Oh, but it's I can't thank you enough for carrying on with this work. And I just feel like it's part of who you are. You're not wearing it on the outside, it's on the inside.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. Yeah,
and it's a rarity.
Privilege to be able to do this work with people. It's the biggest privilege of my life.
We hope that more people like you come along to help us. So thank you.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And
well,
we'll talk with you again soon, because I can't help but want to talk with you again soon.
We'll talk more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in, and we know this was interesting for you, so we know you're going to come back. Thank you.